Good afternoon guys, hope you're well, hope you're all safe, hope you're all looking after yourself. This is another vlog that I'm doing, just discussing the current market update. It's covering more a quarterly report that I do every quarter, every year on the Palm Jumeirah, which basically looks at all the figures of sales, what's happening on the Palm more specifically. So I've done the quarterly report, so I'm going to just touch upon some of the figures I've seen on the quarterly report, and then we can just discuss the market in general and market, more than just the Palm itself, more kind of Dubai based as well. So the interesting thing is the Q1 report that I've done, in terms of volume of transactions, it's not that much lower than Q4 2019. Now, I think one of the reasons for that is obviously the COVID impact may not be felt just yet, because it was mid-March when a lot of the government regulations started coming in. So I think in terms of seeing an impact, it's probably going to be Q2 report. When we look at that and compare that to Q1, it might make for some interesting reading. But in terms of figures, yeah, I mean, it was we had 162 secondary market transactions, which is a very good number, just 2% lower than Q4 2019. The volume of transactions for the secondary market was just shy of $500 million dirhams, which again is pretty much the average what we tend to get. I'm not going to go in the full breakdown of the apartments, the villas and so forth, because that's going to be on the actual report itself. So the actual report, you can click on the link below in the description and it'll show you the full breakdown. The interesting part is as well, 60% of all the transactions were between 0 to 2 million, and 75% of all the transactions were between 0 and 3 million. So 3/4 of every transaction that's going on in the Palm currently, it's at that level between 0 and 3 million dirhams. In terms of most expensive properties sold, the most expensive one was a signature villa that sold on the Palm for 18.627. The most expensive apartment sold was at the 5 Palm residences as well. Average price per square foot for a Palm property in Q4 with the secondary market transactions came up to 928 dirhams a square foot. From that, the maximum price achieved was 3,574 dirhams a square foot, and the average property size that was sold was 1,735 square foot. So it kind of goes in line with the transactions that are between 0 and 3, which are generally kind of 2 beds and smaller 3 beds. In terms of off-plan or coupé sales, there was 112, which is a very large number compared to the previous quarters. A lot of these were in 7 residences on the Palm, which is a development that's giving you 10% guaranteed rental returns, just being constructed between the Fairmont and the Oceana residences, one of the 7 Tides development. And the interesting part with this one is that the top 5 most expensive off-plan or coupé properties sold were all at the Royal Atlantis. Is the exclusive project of Knight Frank. Knight Frank is obviously the company that I am with, so it's one of our exclusive projects with a hotel residence side to it as well. So yeah, the top 5 transactions all were recorded in our development. The total sales, there was 274 transactions, if that's all coupé transactions and secondary market transactions. Total amount was 678 million dirhams. Out of that, the majority were apartments and service apartments. So that's just giving you a quick indication of where the Palm Jumeirah is in terms of figures. Like I said, if you go onto my website, I've got quarterly reports going back the last 4 years, so you can really see certain trends when you're looking at these reports. So I would suggest you go into these reports if you want to really get an idea of what's going on in the Palm itself. In terms of the market itself, the impact in terms of COVID-19, surely since the outbreak and since the government intervention, transaction volumes have dropped. Land department couldn't obviously operate the way it used to operate. Even the transfer offices were closed as well. I think only now are we starting to open these again. But understandably, from buyers' perspective and sellers' perspective, sellers that are not really motivated to sell are kind of holding on, just wanting to see how things progress. There are a good number of buyers on the market. All the buyers that are on the market are all looking for reasonably well priced deals, as understandable. A lot of people are obviously concerned of what's going to happen. I mean, globally, it does look like we are going to be going through a recession, which is going to have an impact around the world. So naturally, people are assuming that the prices are going to come down further. The way I personally see it, and I'm going to break it down into two. As far as the Palm Jumeirah is concerned, prices everywhere in Dubai have been dropping since 2014. Palm Jumeirah has been no different. I personally think we have reached a level on the Palm where sellers will just not sell any below what the current prices are. You're always going to get the odd sale here and there where there's a motivated seller that would sell, but in terms of general pricing, I think we're pretty much down at the bottom. One reason for that as well is the fact prices are dictated by supply and demand. On the Palm, there's no physical land to construct any more developments. The developments that are under construction are the high-end developments like your Atlantis project, your W Palm, which is going to be handing over soon, your one by Omnia. The rest of the projects under construction are hotel projects and boutique hotels. So there really isn't any new residences that is going to be coming on, which kind of ticks the low to mid price bracket. So the way I see it, I think a lot of these properties, the prices they are at now is probably where they're going to stay. Now there could be a movement of maybe 5%, maybe even 10% at the absolute most, if things get a lot more negative. But in my personal opinion, I think on the Palm, I think we've kind of reached the bottom in terms of pricing. I could be wrong, that's just my personal opinion. In terms of the overall market, I certainly do see prices continuing to decline in other areas in Dubai, especially the areas where there's a lot more in the pipeline in terms of supply. Again, it's difficult to say. Different areas has a different property cycle. So every area in Dubai, every real estate in the world has its own property cycle. Within Dubai, every area has its own cycle as well, and that's dependent on the location of the developments themselves, as an area, as in Marina, Palm, downtown, what's under construction, what are the new supplies coming on, what are the competition has it got. The Palm is in a unique position that it doesn't really have any competition when it comes to freehold beachfront properties. You do have certain developments like some of the Miras projects, for example, that are having beachfront properties, also the Emar project as well, but these are one-off projects. You don't have an area where the whole area has beachfront. So Palm is very unique in that sense, that it does have freehold beachfront property as an area, and number two, like I mentioned before, that the supply is limited to the point there isn't really going to be any more residential supply coming onto the market as well. Two things to also keep in mind is that the government, when we compare it to 2009, which a lot of people are comparing it to 2009, obviously 2008, 2009 prices plummeted 50%, some properties, some even more. Now the difference now is the last 6 years, we've pretty much, in terms of price, we've come down around 35 to 45%, depending on which area. So we've already seen the massive drop, so we're not really going to see sudden drops in prices. And when I mentioned that there's going to be further price decline in other areas, it's not going to be a sharp decline. It will be a gradual decline, and again, it depends how everything plays out post COVID-19 and how the government restricts the supply element as well, which I know the government have put certain conditions in place to restrict this, so we'll just have to wait and see. But as far as Palm is concerned, I think we're pretty much in terms of pricing. With other areas, I think there's a little way to go depending on which area. If you are a buyer looking at buying now, if you have a long-term vision for Dubai, you're taking advantage of the fact that the banks are now lending 80%, the interest rates are the lowest they have been for a very long time, then it is a great time to buy. If you have maybe different vision in terms of it's more of a short term, then if you want to wait and see how the market plays out, that's also understandable as well. That's all for this market report. I wanted to keep it brief. It was really more specifically to do with the Palm. I have touched on other areas as well. You can click on the link below, which will show you the full market report, and you can go back to market reports going all the way up to 2016, 2017 as well. Like, subscribe, comment. Please give me feedback. Let me know if there's anything particular you want me to discuss on these vlogs, and I will do so. Anyhow, guys, stay safe and speak to you soon. Bye bye.